Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. My name's Kat Cripps of Wildcat Solutions and the Business Success Society. And this is number 4 in our series of March webinars. Today we're talking about getting to grips with your business processes. I'm just waiting for people to join in and then we will get started. Thanks very much for joining me today. So good afternoon everyone and welcome to the 4th in the series of lunchtime webinars, and if you've missed the others then they're all available and you should be able to see them in the YouTube channel, or if not I'm going to send out a list at the end with all the links in it so you will not be missing out. So today let's get to grips with our business processes. Just as a reminder where we've been, some of you have been with me since day one. So first of all, we looked at using your customer data to find more sales. Then we looked at your ideal customer avatar and getting clear on that, and if that has changed in the current climate. And on Friday, we looked at email marketing and actually communicating with leads, prospects, and customers in the right way at the right time with the right message. So today, process. You'll see that we'll come back to process again on Wednesday. And tomorrow we are looking at content marketing and lead magnets, which is just all about kind of keeping people engaged in your world. I'm working with somebody whose business has completely shut down, and we're just looking at ways where he can potentially just send out the odd email to his customers to you know, keep them engaged and keep them learning as they're going along. I will just do a shameless plug for the customer experience workshop, which will be happening on Thursday morning. That's a longer workshop with workbooks, etc. So there is a small fee for that one. And if you're interested in that, then the details for that will come out in the email later on today. So let's get going. As I say, I generally start with this slide, which is where are we? Are we able to, excuse me, I just realized my laptop's not plugged in and I would hate for you all to suddenly disappear. Are you managing to run your business as usual or pretty much as usual? Are you having to adjust? I think probably most of us are at least in the having to adjust camp. Are you having to downsize staff and get rid of a lot of staff, which is unfortunately the case? They're calling it furloughing, and that American term, where you're potentially having to release staff now with hopefully the thought that you will take them on again when business picks up again, or maybe not, but potentially that's what you might have to do. Or are you starting a new business from scratch? Now, I'm not sure that there's anybody watching live who's in that situation, having had a quick look at who's here. But there will potentially be some people who decide that they can start a business to be ready to either serve customers during this crisis or to be ready to serve customers when they are when the crisis is over. I was reading something a little while ago about how China's getting back to normal. So normal service will be resumed. We just don't know when. And it's likely to look a little bit different, I feel. But anyway, so there may be other variations of this, but as far as I'm concerned, these are the rough categories of people that we might be dealing with. So business as usual, and I said you're lucky in inverted commas, because IT companies, for example, are a good example of this. So they have been absolutely flat out for the last 2 weeks or so, trying to help businesses get sorted to allow their staff to work from home. So they have been incredibly busy, and to a certain extent will potentially have quietened down a little bit, although they've probably got backlog they're working on. But they will continue to be able to service their clients with IT queries and keeping systems going and all that kind of thing. So they're probably pretty much business as usual. They probably or potentially need more staff. Now, Amazon need more drivers, Tesco need more people. There's a raft of companies out there who actually need more staff. And in your business, if you are continuing to work, then you're potentially going to need more staff to help you to serve your customers. If you do, then you need to be, if you're busier than ever, you need to be able to communicate effectively internally. And a lot of this business process stuff is about internal communication. And certainly if you're taking on more staff, then you need to be able to get them hitting the ground running. There's no time. There is no time if your business is busy and you're taking on more staff for a long induction process. So being able to hit the ground running with new members of staff so that they know exactly what they need to do on day one is vitally important. And also, and this will run through obviously everybody, we need to satisfy our customers. And we don't have time. Selfish, we want to satisfy our customers, obviously, but equally selfishly, we don't want to have to go back and redo stuff. We need to get it right first time as often as we possibly can. And this is where your business processes can come into their own as well. So if your business is still running, then these are probably the factors that you need to be considering and thinking about. Are you having to adjust? I think probably a lot of us are in this camp. We're still trading, but we're adjusting. So I can't go and see clients to run a workshop, but I can run it online. So we may have different delivery methods, different protocols that we put in place for dealing with customers. We might have a different client base. We might actually be servicing slightly different clients to the ones we did before, just simply because there might be certain clients that we can't. They might be distant and they might not have the capability, for example, to be able to work online, or they might not wish to work online. They might say, it's okay, I don't particularly want to work with you online. I'll come back to you once this is over. So you might want to attract new clients. This particular webinar is not about attracting new clients, that's tomorrow. So you might be working with a different client base. And you might have everybody working from home. So you do have an issue where if somebody has a task they need to perform, they need to be able to do that from everywhere. There's a little bit of, there's potentially going to be a little bit of, oh, we should have thought of that before we started working, everybody working from home. But on the process that, on the basis that everything is continual improvement, let's just keep going with that. So everybody working from home, everybody needs to know what they have to do without having to ping people. I see a lot of people are working on Microsoft Teams. Everybody seems to have locked onto that one. You don't want messages coming through every 30 seconds. How do I, how can I, where is, which is really what this is all about. You might be downsizing staff. You might be having to get rid of all your staff, and you might just be, the brackets in you, it might be just left with just you trying to sustain what business is left by yourself until you can get through the current crisis. And you need to take on everything from staff communication, customer communication, potentially servicing or any orders you can service. And all the other things that I've mentioned. So you've got new delivery methods, new things happening. So if you are finding your situation where you're either on your own or with a skeleton staff, then again it needs to be easy to operate. And again, this is what this process workshop is all about. And as I say, you might be starting from scratch. You might actually take this opportunity to say to yourself, do you know what? The business that I was running was not the right business for me. It was kind of going, I don't want to say down the tubes, but maybe it just wasn't sustainable. Maybe this is your opportunity to sort of sit and say, I've now got time to completely revamp my business model and do something else or whatever. And this is just an opportunity for you to map things out the way you want right from the start. that might be you. You might be sitting there thinking, actually, do you know what? That's what I'm going to take the time to do. And there are particularly people who have been furloughed or laid off or whatever. This might be an opportunity for them to sort of say, do you know what? I've always thought about starting my own business. This is my chance to do it. So I now want you to think about the tasks that are in your business. We're drilling down into operations big time here. And in general, because this is only a short webinar, it's not a full workshop. In general, they will either be customer-facing tasks or they will be internal tasks that have to happen in order for the business to function, but aren't necessarily visible to the outside world. So customer-facing, we've got our sales and order-taking functions. We've got our order fulfillment. Now, you know, if we can no longer deliver something in person, fitness classes are an absolute example of this. We can't do our fitness classes. We can't have people coming into our studios. So therefore, fitness people are now doing online fitness videos. And no, I didn't do the Joe Wicks one this morning, but I understand 700,000 people did. And you know, things like invoicing, all that kind of stuff. So there's all the tasks and all the operations that you have in your business which the customer interacts with. And then there's all the internal stuff. So the marketing that you're doing, accounting procedures, ordering from suppliers, all the internal stuff that just keeps the business going, but that your customers are largely unaware of. They're sort of aware of your marketing, but it doesn't interact with them on that sort of same sort of basis. So there are a whole pile of tasks in each of those columns, if you like, and there's probably lots more as well, but just think about all the things that you do in your business and whether they're customer facing or not, and how often you do them, all those kind of things. We're coming on to that in a second. So, and this is really about time. So when we do a task, there's the time to find everything we need to do the task. So whether that's files or information, whatever it is, we've got to actually spend time pulling together the things we need to do the task. We need time to remember how we do the task. And bear in mind that if you have had to let people go, it might be a really long time since you did some of these particular tasks, and you suddenly have to think, I don't quite remember how to do that. So it's going to take you time to get back up to speed again. Or equally, if you've got new members of staff, they've got to learn how to do it. If it's a weekly task, then the likelihood is you'll probably remember how you did it last week. If it's a monthly task, it gets less and less likely. If it's quarterly, annually, if it's something you do very infrequently, you'll know this. You'll have a feel for this yourself, that it takes a long time to accomplish a task the first time, and as you do it more frequently, more regularly, you get much better at it because you're practiced at it and you know exactly what you're doing. But then think about all the different tasks in your business and what time frames those fall into. So in the past, I've had people who once a year would say, could you come in and help me do my Sage year end? Because I can't be bothered to set the time aside to learn how to do it or to remember how to do it. So could you come in and do it because you know how to do it? And that's an option. The option is that you can outsource some of these things, but bear in mind there are a lot of VAs and things are going to be incredibly busy with all this stuff. And that time all adds up. Year-end tasks, quarter-end tasks, month-end tasks, it all adds up and it all starts to become a burden potentially on the business if we're having to work out how to do some of these tasks time and time again, or if we get somebody new into the business and we have to spend an eternity telling them how to do these tasks again and again and again. There is also the issue that as a business grows and you have potentially more layers in that you have told somebody when they came into the business how to do something, how you want it done, because customer experience and customer journey is important in this as well, and making sure that you have consistency, which we will come to in a second. The next person that comes into the organization, you might think, oh, well, I told Jim how to do it last time. He can tell Susie how to do it. And I've gone into businesses where you suddenly find that the person at the end of the chain 2 years later has been given the most bizarre instructions on how to do something. It's just like Chinese whispers, where the original message, each time it goes through somebody and time moves on, the message gets degraded, if you like, every single time. And the last person to get it has been given something so garbled and useless that they're either doing completely the wrong thing, or in fact, they're doing something that takes longer because they haven't had all the information. So beware of that as well in an organization where you've got that Chinese whispers training method. And getting things right first time, obviously, saves a huge amount of time if you can do that, because we don't really want to have to revisit anything. And that just doesn't cost you time. It's actually potentially costly in terms of money, because that's wasted time, and time is money, as we all know. So I just want to talk about the customer journey at this point. Consistency is absolutely key. So what you don't want is different people sending out different documents to different customers, or different documents to the same customers, and customers just don't have this feeling that it's all coming from the same organization, or the messages about the delivery times, or any of these kind of things. Whenever a customer interacts with any member of your staff in your organization, or even yourself, don't be giving somebody a message today and then tomorrow give them a different message or send them something different. It has to be consistent so that the customer has this complete confidence in you and your organization to know. And a lot of this stuff is subliminal as well. You know, you might sort of think, well, it doesn't really matter, they're getting the information. If it's not coming in a consistent format, if they're getting slightly different information from people, it all erodes that confidence in you. And potentially when it comes to the point of renewing a contract, or when they need to buy again, if they don't have that warm fuzzy feeling that that they're at the center of your world, because that's what you want them to feel, then they might just go elsewhere. So the point about consistent process is to give the customer that confidence in you and in your organization, and in your ability to deliver in a consistent manner, time after time after time. And I just want to mention, yes, your staff, or if you're even if you're outsourcing, if you have a way you want something done, if you have a way that you want communications with your customers to be handled, for example, then even if you're outsourcing some of these functions, might be to a delivery company, it might be even just, say, a bookkeeper, and the way they communicate with customers regarding payment of invoice, whatever it is. It's your business, and you have the right to sort of say, this is how I would like things to be done and things to be handled in my business. And again, to give this customer journey, this customer satisfaction, so that they're happy that no matter who they speak to in your organization, and they will feel that that person is part of your organization, even if they're not, then you really need to make sure that consistency across everybody is absolutely being followed. So the dreaded word, standard operating procedures. I would say hands up if you worked in corporate life and you had to live and die by your SOPs. I worked for a pharmaceutical company. We didn't move or breathe without an SOP. I had to write them, I had to follow them. It's just the way it was. And you may have worked in an organization like that, you may not. But there's very, very good reasons why we have them. So the idea of a standard operating procedure, an SOP, is to map out a process from start to finish, document it, review it and check it. You can't have it until it's tested. A bit like business continuity plans and backups. Until you've actually tested them, you've not done. You've not finished the process. You can't just write it out and say, right, I've done that one, on to the next one. It needs to be reviewed and tested. Now, if you're in the business by yourself, that might be you, but we'll come on to that a little bit later. And it's, what you end up with is with training guides, so that if somebody comes into an organization and you put them in the customer admin department, you then have a set of procedures and processes that they follow. I'm not suggesting that you don't take them through it in some way, shape or form on their first day. You don't necessarily just hand them the manual and say, get on with it. But it means that as they come up with every single query, which they have, because you can never do absolutely everything in the first go, they can go to the manual, the SOPs, and say, that's what I do in this situation. And okay, we're small businesses. You're not going to get absolutely everything in there every single time. But the point is, it should cut down massively on the amount of questions that people have if they just have a manual of procedures to follow. I went into Dobby's yesterday, maintaining lots of distance, and stood back from the checkout, and it was a brand new girl. And she'd had her training, but something came up that she didn't know how to deal with, and somebody had to come and help. But, that's going to happen. You can't possibly cover absolutely every single thing that comes up, particularly at the moment. But if you can have a manual that people can check with and follow, you're going to cut down on an awful lot of it. And even for yourself, for these tasks that you don't do every single day, every single week, every single month, if you need to come back to them, if you've got it written out so that you know exactly what to do and where everything is, you're going to get it right first time, and it's going to save you a huge amount of time. So, and as you'll know, this is how it goes in these webinars. Your challenge now is to sit and make a list. Make a list of all the tasks, or the important ones, because I'm not being unreasonable here. Make a list of important tasks in your business, whether they're weekly, monthly, quarterly, ad hoc tasks, and take one of those tasks, take one of the ones that you perform relatively infrequently, maybe a monthly one, and write it out. Actually document it out. And this is actually incredibly hard to do absolutely right, so that somebody else could follow it. So write it out. And if you've got teenage children in your house at the moment, this is a fantastic opportunity, because what you can do is write it out and see if they can follow it. And yeah, unless you're really good at this, you're not going to get this right first time. Absolutely not. So take one task, write it all out in infinite detail. Open file, do this, go to this folder, this is where the file lives, do that, do this. Write it out in great detail, and then, as I say, ask someone else to attempt the task. If you really don't have anybody else to ask, then, and that could be remotely, find a partner on Zoom, find somebody else who has a small business and partner up with them, and do, and help each other out, and see how they get on, and get them to give you feedback on it. And then absolutely, it's about reviewing, checking and improving, and just making them better and better and better each time. And then you can take on different tasks and write them all out as well. So I hope this has been helpful to help you see the benefit of understanding your all the processes in your business. As I say, I think if you can spend some of your time, maybe not on social media all the time, as delicious and lovely as it is as to see all the stuff on social media that we're getting at the moment, maybe take an hour to do one of these tasks. Some of you who've known me for a while and been in the Business Success Society for a while will know that we did the jam sandwich challenge, where I invited everybody to give me the instructions for making a jam sandwich, and then I can't find the video, unfortunately. I videoed myself standing in my kitchen trying to follow instructions, and it was hilarious. So I might actually try and resurrect that and do that live at some point, because it was hysterically funny. It's amazing what you forget to tell people, or even tell yourself. So have a go and see how you get on. So that's the formal part of this over. I'll open it up in a second. That's how to connect with me if you need to. My llama is being redesigned, but I quite like him. So I'm in Facebook on the Business Success Society, which is a free group, or you can email me, or you can call me. And you've got emails as well from me to respond to as well. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you all have a fantastic day.